Graves and do some music for us.
First of all, I don't have a weapon. Well, maybe that is a weapon. I don't know. This is a fiddle. You know how I know this is a fiddle? How do I know it's a fiddle?
Well, it depends on who plays it.
Well, I found out the other day the real difference between a violin and a fiddle. The real difference is a fiddle has a red neck.
Oh, my goodness.
Let me introduce to you my compadre here. Carol Bishop is going to help me out here. We're going to play a little music, and then we're going to talk about some history of Union County and what happened back a few years ago. Some people think I even lived it, but I don't think I did. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, is everybody out there ready? I see some real smiling faces out there. You see those smiling faces out there?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're awfully young.
a nice crowd.
It is a nice crowd. Yeah. Maybe they'll be smiling when we play.
I hope they don't have any tomatoes.
Uh-oh. Well, up in Tater Valley, at Tater Valley Grocery, they've got Granger County tomatoes. But I don't think anybody want to throw one of those. All right, here we go. I'm going in the morning, down in Union County to see my Susie Ann. Down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. Down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. I know she'll be waiting down in Union County to see her loving man. Hey, down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. Down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. There's cornbread in the oven to feed her loving man. Down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. Down in Union County, I'm going to Union County to see my Susie Ann. Thank you.
What was the name of that?
What was the name of that? Where is Union County? We never found it, I guess. In Union County. You know, I didn't think I was going to make it over here today. This yellow stuff has just really got me down. My voice is not what it used to be. So if it breaks, that's the reason. I breathed in so much of that yellow stuff, I sneezed out a pine cone the other day. And I was on my way down here, coming down 33. And this state trooper pulled me over. And I wasn't doing, I was doing 45, I thought, you know. He pulled me over and he said, looked at me and said, you know, your eyes are kind of red. Have you been taking drugs? And I looked at him and I said, you know, you got something white around your mouth. Have you been eating donuts?
How much is that ticket?
Well, he didn't put me in jail. So I guess everything's good. All right, let's try this one right here. This is one of my favorites here. Let's start that again. Y'all bear with me just a minute. I'm going to reset up that. Whoa, yes. Well, we could do a little advertisement. I was going to do that at the end, but we have a big jam session and music here at the museum, 7 o'clock every Tuesday night. And we usually have a big crowd. We have musicians lined up all the way around this place, and people sitting out here listening to it. And you know, it's open to the public. Everybody's invited, and we want you to be here and enjoy it. Of course, most of us that are here are teenagers like Bryce Olmsted over there. We call him Catfish. I don't know why, but he's a pretty good feller. A lot of people don't realize that he was the inventor of the original high heel flip-flops. Is that a good enough commercial? Okay. You know, when you tell stories in history, they say history is written by the victors, and it's usually people that weren't even there. And a lot of it comes from accounts in the newspaper. And in 1794, there might not have been a newspaper if it hadn't been for Rogersville. In Rogersville, they published the Knoxville Gazette. And a lot of times they had articles about things that happened, exciting things and that sort of thing. So you have to go by some of those articles, and you have to read between the lines. So today I'm going to read between the lines, and I want you to bear with me and indulge me as I go through this story. And somebody was telling me, I think it was Judy here, that don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. It was just before dawn when Peter tumbled out of bed to start his day. He moved quietly and as possible so as not to wake his 4 children who were sleeping up in the loft of the small cabin that he occupied. The cabin he and other men of the settlement had worked hard to complete it before the cold winter weather set in. It was situated near the Clinch River on the side of Lone Mountain, is what they called it, and neighboring the Sharp Station blockhouse. It was an ideal location for raising crops in the warm winter months and for hunting in the winter. Rich river bottom soil stretched out in 3 directions. The newcomers enjoyed a bountiful summer harvest, as the crops had provided most of what the settlers needed. It was a mild day in mid-November. The crops were laid by, and it was an ideal time to hunt along the river and the ridges for wild game to supplement the family's diet during the coming stark winter days. Peter worked diligently to fill his haversack with the necessary items he would need for his day's journey. He filled his bag with his self-made lead balls, a strip of linen, his small knife, and a small and large powder horn, and his large hunting knife. He cocked his rifle and pulled the trigger to check his flint. Sparks flew from the gun and lit up the cabin walls. Just then, Peter heard a movement above as his oldest son, Jober John, leaned over the side of the loft and let out a low moan. "Go back to sleep," Peter said in a slight whisper, as his eldest son withdrew to the loft. He was hoping he would not waken the rest of the children before leaving. By this time, Peter's wife, Lucy, roused from her sleep and began to stroke the fire from the small parcel of leftover coals. It would soon be time to heat up last night's leftover victuals for a meager breakfast for Lucy and 4 children. Of course, 3-month-old, beautiful Betsy lay asleep in her hollowed out pine log crib. All she needed was Mama. Peter reached up to a high shelf adjacent to the fireplace and broke off a hunk of pemmican to place in his bag. This, he hoped, would provide him sustenance through the day, as he could not spare the time waiting for breakfast. Climbing the ladder to the loft, he looked on with gentle affection for his 4 children, Jober John, Bastian, Katie, Christian, and Betsy. He wondered in his mind if they would enjoy their day going about their daily routines. With a bound down the ladder to the dirt floor he went and quickly turned to the crib. Baby Betsy was in a peaceful sleep. He bent down and lovingly inspected her angelic face and blew her a goodbye kiss. Quickly raising up, he grabbed Lucy from behind and held her for a moment and said, "I'll be sure to bring home fresh meat for supper tonight." With a twist and a jerk, he slipped on his linen shirt and hunting coat, picked up his gear and rifle, and headed out for the day. The sun was just breaking the horizon when he opened the cabin door. Taking the path along the river past the Henry Sharp blockhouse, he began his ascent up the ridge trail. As he ambled along, he remembered that the Cherokee people were encamped not far away on the other side of the river at the confluence of the Clinch and the Powell River. Early on, they had viciously warned the original settlers to keep off their side of the ridge or risk death. Nevertheless, Peter felt confident that he could defend himself if the situation called for action. Just then, a sound came from high up on the ridge above the settlement. He could barely make out the sound of a turkey gobble. Climbing up the ridge toward the sound, Peter quietly journeyed onward. He turned around slightly north to the opposite direction. He could see the river winding in the valley like a blue helter-skelter ribbon. Cautiously, he emptied a charge of black powder into the barrel of his rifle. Then he carefully cut a small patch of linen and placed a ball over the top of it, and with the handle of his small knife, he punched the ball down the barrel. And removing his tamping rod from its placement, he plunged the ball and patched down against the powder charge. Next, he pulled out his small powder horn and charged the snap hands with priming powder. He was ready now for a quick shot should the turkey raise his head. The long hunter cautiously approached the crest of the ridge, and he thought, strange, no turkeys, he thought. Vigilantly and almost silently, he crept along the trail as not to crunch the leaves and alarm the wildlife. Just ahead, he could see the large outcropping of boulders which lay along the trail. As he reached the rocks, he heard the distinct sound and a slight rustle of leaves. A shot rang out behind him. The shot was at such point-blank range that it nearly took off the back of his head. Peter fell to the ground with a dull thud. Shiny knives and Cherokee hands did the rest. His desecrated, mutilated body lay motionless on the ground. Peter Graves was dead. Now, I'm going to take you on a little trip. We're going to take a walk. Everybody up for a walk today? It's about a quarter mile. Can you make it? This walk we're going to take, if you take your Big Ridge maps over here on the desk, and you look right up here at the far side of the Big Ridge Park, this is the location of Sharp's Station up here. So we're going to start our walk right there at the lake, and we're going to walk way up the ridge up to the outcropping, and it's the same route that Peter Graves took. Yes.
You just turn the light off.
Shall I turn the lights off in here? You think so? That better? This is also the time of year when he would have been walking up this trail. Thank you very much.
Would he have been about 30 years old when he died?
I'd say it's anywhere between 27 and 30.
Okay.
Young man, had 5 children,
Yeah.
young children.
It said that Boston was one of the people who drove away the Cherokee during the attack. He had to be a very young child at that time, didn't he?
Not the same Boston.
Different.
This was Boston, Bostian. That's the way he spelled his name. Jober John was the oldest child. I think was autistic, from what I've read.
Ray, what happened to the family after he was massacred?
Well, Lucy, of course, was widowed, and about 1797, she remarried John Cooper.
How far was his cabin from where he was killed?
Well, in those days, let's see, the cabin would have been somewhere around the blockhouse, somewhere close in Sharp Station. Now, people like to think that people lived inside the blockhouse, but they didn't. They were outside on cabins. They only came to the blockhouse when they were attacked or threatened or Indians came. So what happened, that cabin would have been pretty much maybe a quarter mile up to the ridge to where he was killed.
Not far at all.
Not far off. No, just right up the ridge. Pardon me?
How was he found?
Well, when he didn't come home, I'm sure his wife sent people to look for him. And it wouldn't have been hard to find him up there because people knew that the turkeys, he was going after a turkey gob.
Indians done that, lure him in.
Yeah, I think the Indians were watching the blockhouse for a number of days before that occurred, and they just lured him up there with the turkey gob, just so they could terrorize somebody and hope that the rest would leave.
Is this the same time frame that Nicholas Gibbs would have been?
Well, later on, after Peter was scalped, Nicholas Gibbs was at the blockhouse. Yes, and he was one of the people that stayed, I think I'm right, stayed behind while the rest of the men went down the river to get to the saltpeter mines because they were out of gunpowder.
Was there a counterattack against the Indians after that?
Well, the Indians had an attack on the blockhouse after that.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they attacked it while the men were at the saltpeter mines. The Indians attacked the women and children, but the Indians miscalculated because the women were good with firearms, and they fought off the Indian attack. And after that, they had no more trouble with the Indians. The John Raccoon Miller blockhouse, which is down the Ayler Gap a little ways there at Johnson Road, and what is that other road there? Beard Valley, yeah. That blockhouse and the blockhouse at Sharp Station and the Nicholas Gibbs estate settlement down there were all within, the same time frame. They knew each other and they communicated a lot. Visited each other.
Was that about the same time frame as the Adair?
Yes, all of those blockhouses in the area when the first settlers came in here. They started coming in here, I think, after the Battle of Kings Mountain. A lot of those, the people that settled in this area fought in that battle. There was John Rice, there was Nicholas Gibbs, there was John Miller, Henry Sharp, Conrad Sharp. All of them fought in that battle, and that's where the property came from. They were paid off to fight in that battle with land grants. All they had to do is come over here and live for a certain time, and it'd be there.
I thought he was, I grew up in Fountain City, and there's a sign down there, Fort Adair, with an arrow. And I've read articles over the years, the exact location had been lost. And then somebody said he had talked to a very old man, who had talked to a very old man who as a child had seen the remains of it, back behind the cemetery somewhere, or in the back of that direction.
Yeah, I think it was in that flat part where
Yeah,
the cemetery is.
yeah. And it was always a question of, there for a long time, nobody was actually, we knew it was out there, but you know. And one of the troubles in Fountain City with trying to follow old stories is the roads don't follow the same routes that they may have taken 100 years ago.
No, 33 wasn't even here. You came into this area through up through Graveston and up that way, and Ayler Gap wasn't even there. You had to go around a couple of ridges to get here. Any other questions?
Wayne, how long back then did it take to go from Maynardville or the fort here to Knoxville to trade?
Oh, that'd take a day or two,
You had to make it to
because it was rough. It was rough riding on a horse. If you got the horse to trot, it'd be a day's journey, but they mostly walked.
I was thinking that, I've been here about 5, 6, 7 years ago, they said they had to go from here to Gibbs. The first day to make it by dark, the rest get scout the highway to get it. And then the next day, go from there to Knoxville.
Yeah, one of the layover spots was Gibbs. Yes, the next layover spot was that Methodist church at Shannondale.
Yeah.
Then they went on into the White's Fort.
Smithwood was a layover spot, because my grandmother, who was a lay, her father up around Liberty Hill, Black Hawks, that area, they took wagon to the farmer's market.
Mhm.
And it would take several days, because they'd overnight, and she would always say they overnighted at Smithwood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shannondale was a good spot too there, because it was where that church
That's
is.
just what she said.
That's probably what she meant by Smithwood. I don't know for sure, but
She was a child.
yeah.
My father was born in 1897, and he told that when he was about 4 or 5 years old, his grandfather, Worth Hill, took him from Sharp's Chapel into Knoxville with a wagon loaded with whatever they were selling.
Probably hay and straw.
Yeah, they were going down what is, it wasn't the same name, but Gay Street. They were going down Gay Street, and he missed his turn. And he proceeded to make, with 4 horses pulling, proceeded to make a U-turn right there in the middle of the road. And a policeman, standing over the side, comes running over, blowing his whistle. Stop, stop, you can't turn around here. And his grandfather said, if you get out of the way, I think I can make it. And did.
Most, if there were heavy things going to place, I mean, you could take hay and straw, and you could take vegetables and things to Knoxville. That was all by wagon. But if it was heavy, like timber, or they floated it down the river. Yeah.
My grandfather did that.
And they rode the logs, I think.
Yeah, they piled dirt up on it and would build a campfire on top of those logs.
Yeah. They took them to Chattanooga, I think. The thing about it is, once they rode down there on the river, they had to walk back.
A lot of times they would catch the train from Chattanooga back to Knoxville, and then Grandpa said it cost them 50 cents to ride the stagecoach, so they would walk from Knoxville back to Yellow Branch Holler up there in Claiborne County.
Yeah.
And carry their chains to save that 50 cents. 'Cause
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't want to pay to be riding.
Yeah, 50 cents was a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Beulah United Methodist Church on Timberland Heights Road, it was built when logs were coming down the river and it flooded. And it brought those logs all up on the land. And rather than taking it back down to the water, the people that lived there got it and built the church with it.
Yeah.
And that was in 18-something, I can't remember exactly, but
Well,
my husband and I were members there for about 10 years. It's a neat old church.
use what you got back then.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think that people back in 1700s wore a lot of cotton clothes. There wasn't any cotton around here. It was all flax and wool. They wore the clothes made called linsey woolsey. It was a mixture of linen and wool. Sometime when I come back, I'll do a little slideshow on just how life was in the 1700s. I've got a bunch of slides from and people in costume that will show you what that was like, and they're all in color. So, any more questions? The reason why I got interested in all this is I had an ancestor back in that fought in the Battle of Kings Mountain. His name was Preston Goforth, and he was actually killed in that battle by his brother, because he had one brother on one side and one on the other side. They shot at each other, and he was killed. His wife went and retrieved his body after the battle and buried him in the family cemetery. My brothers and I actually went to Kings Mountain and actually found that cemetery where he's buried. Yeah.
One of our ancestors is Caswell Sharp, and he's buried in Lost Creek Cemetery, but we can't find his grave, you know.
Yeah.
But they were descendants of Conrad Sharp. In fact, we've got an uncle named Conrad Sharp after one of the ancestors. And then on our dad's side, his mother was Molly Gibbs.
Welcome to the Gibbs
Thank you.
reunion.
Thank you.
Yeah, we came from on both sides.
Should have been asked for Gibbs reunion.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything?
June.
Oh, okay, that's Nicholas.
Yeah, they,
I know
place, yeah.
Gibbs is having a reunion.
Yeah, there was a class reunions. That's the school.
Yeah, that's the school.
Are we ready to quit? Looks like Charlie's ready to eat.
There's one thing, when I was a kid here, you could go around Norris Lake, up and down these creeks, you could find arrowheads everywhere. I knew kids that had big collections of arrowheads. So this must have been the main hunting area here along the compass and the two rivers.
I think the main hunting ground was what we call Chuck Swan now.
Chuck Swan.
Mm-hmm. I think that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Where the game is.
Yeah.
Any place along the water, though.
Yeah.
Places where
The
they
game
sell
had to have
games.
water.
Yeah. You had to have water. Yeah.
People don't realize back at that time, we had woods, buffalo here, woods elk, we had elk and buffalo here. You had deer.
Yeah, I think one of the last buffalo killed was up in Granger County there at Buffalo Ridge. There were buffalo here.
Oh, yeah.
And when the first settlers came in here, there was big grass, that grew and that fed all those animals. And the roads were here. The roads were here, and they were 2-track roads because buffalo take the path of least resistance, and they travel side by side. That
That worked out.
did, didn't it?
Yeah.
One other thing we had here too, is we had to watch out for was mountain lions.
Yes.
A lot of them around here.
Mm-hmm.
They're here again now.
Yeah, I don't know how they dealt with Bigfoot, but I'm sure he was here too.
House Mountain was here for the last stronghold for Bigfoot.
Yeah, it probably is.
They were all over that mountain over there.
There was actually a report in the 60s of Bigfoot in North Knoxville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somebody said he was over in he's moved over to Big Ridge now, I think.
Well, now you know about the striped monkeys up here, don't you? Striped monkeys.
No, I hadn't heard
Oh, yeah, yeah. Kaz Walker used to write about them.
Well, it was the gospel then.
Yeah.
Is that one of those where the truth never gets in the way of a good story?
Well, yeah. Hey, listen, I read it and believed it, so.
Probably in the watchdog, right?
Yes.
Watchtower. Was it?
Watchdog.
Was it the Watchdog?
Yeah. Watchtower or something.
Yeah, that's up.
Oh, my.
That has to do with religion.
Just like she was.
Somebody's religion.
Yes.
That was the precursor to Facebook.
Is that, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it.
I've enjoyed it today. Thank you for inviting me to come and do this. One of my favorite stories.
Good job.